Good evening, everyone. My name is Sara Lyons, and I'm with Volunteer Canada. A few weeks ago, at a consultation for the National Volunteer Action Strategy in Brandon, Manitoba, a very well-dressed older woman came in and sat down at the facilitator's table during the lunch portion to kick off the event. After some conversation, she declared herself to be an STP and asked us, the event staff, to guess what that stood for. My not-so-amazing guess was super terrific person. The answer was same 10 people. And she was talking about how in many communities, whether it's small towns or communities of interest or identity or geography or a school or a sports league, much of the volunteering is done by the same 10 people. And if you're involved at a child's school or a sports team or just about any small community, the notion of STP may feel familiar. The National Volunteer Action Strategy is a year-long process being backboned by the organization I work for, Volunteer Canada, to dig deep into the underlying data, facts, insights into the state of volunteering in this country and seeks to make it more robust, inclusive, widespread, and resilient. Next winter, through the strategy, we'll be making recommendations to the not-for-profit sector, volunteer leadership organizations, the public, and importantly, governments, on how to modernize and revitalize volunteering across Canada. Volunteering has huge benefits for those that do it, for community, and for the wider social fabric. It's a powerful vehicle to help us address critical social, economic, health, and environmental issues. Recent trends signal a crisis in volunteering and participation marked by declining volunteer rates and increasing demands on organizations that rely on volunteers. Many organizations that count on volunteers are finding it harder to attract and retain them, are seeing increased demand for one-off opportunities, limited availability, folks aging out of volunteering, increased demand for perks and recognition, and the phenomenon of ghosting has come to volunteering. Overlaying this crisis, we're seeing a growing loneliness epidemic and eroding social cohesion. So while the word volunteering can bring to mind the parent at a school bake sale or boxing groceries at a food bank every Wednesday afternoon, it's a much broader opportunity to build engaged citizens and communities able to support community services, democratic and civic structures, and tackle climate crisis. Supported by the federal government and a handful of foundations and corporations, Volunteer Canada has been backboning the development of the strategy to address these crises and create opportunities to address complex challenges and support future generations. Some of the critical questions we're exploring include, what role do material circumstances play in people's ability to volunteer? And how can we address the socioeconomic barriers? What emerging practices did we see during COVID that we should continue? And how might we revitalize the spirit of volunteering while avoiding the exploitation of unpaid labor and upholding decent work in the nonprofit and charitable sector? How can we capture and mobilize and to understand and break down systemic barriers? How is the changing nature of social connection impacting volunteering and participation, and how can it rebuild trust? And how can we find new ways to restore, grow, and celebrate the culture of volunteering, one that is based on reciprocity, generosity, inclusion, and empathy? For many months now, we've been digging deeper into existing research and data. We've launched a new public survey and are conducting consultations like the one I referenced in Brandon. We're speaking to volunteers, volunteer managers, community organization leaders, and sector leaders to really do this modernization and revitalization of a sector that hasn't really had a lot of examination for a long time. One particularly interesting aspect of this work for me is exploring the words, narratives, and frames that we use to talk about volunteering. I started in this role in the fall, so I had a recent chance to introduce this new job that I had taken to a variety of people in my life, in my family, and my friends. And I did notice that not a lot of people's eyes sort of lit up when I told them that I was moving into the volunteering sector. And I especially noticed that the younger the person I was talking to, the less they were initially excited about it. And I really had to kind of tell them more about it to make them go, oh, that sounds so great. Volunteer Canada consultations have shown that volunteering is increasingly seen as an antiquated or narrow term, signaling that we do have work to do in adapting perceptions. As people move away from more traditional institutions towards more informal models like grassroots movements, mutual aid, neighborhood participation, and community care, those things are becoming more current and more relevant, especially for younger people. Some of the emergent narratives that we're hearing about in our consultation work include shifting away from talking about volunteering as a way to gain work experience, for example, for newcomers or youth, and more as a way to build community and relationships. Better acknowledging that volunteers may have a range of motivations, such as improving language skills, gaining work experience, or building social networks. Promoting a broader definition of volunteering that includes informal and grassroots engagement, mutual aid, and other forms of community participation. And importantly, countering the current trend towards individualization and caring mostly about the self, and centering caring about the collective. And at this particular moment in Canada and in the world, we're also exploring how volunteering can be part of a strong and sovereign Canada, centering themes of coming together to build strong communities, a connected population, and a resilient social safety net and economy. Ultimately, a revitalized volunteer sector is critical infrastructure that can be advancing our social cohesion, combating polarization and division. To return to the same 10 people, these folks are heroes of our communities. But as we look ahead, we need to adjust and grow our investment in volunteering infrastructure, practices, and language to make sure that we're welcoming more than those same 10 people, but instead, everyone. Thank you.